Frank, I know you invited me over to smoke a joint, but I forgot about the big flowery Frank joints. Those are different than smoking a joint.
Yeah, that's JP. Yeah. That's why it's always so funny to. That's everyone's always like, yeah, I'll come. And then they're like, oh yeah.
Not that I've ever taken a drag off that on the back patio of the Comedy Store ever. I would never be that unprofessional.
Yeah, that's I can't wait to. Yeah, you're one of my favorite people to talk to, especially about working at the store. Well, because we had a special relationship. I worked phones during the day, and then you also, I mean, you're a manager, so I would see you during the day all of the time. And we ended up becoming sandal brothers because I fucking didn't want to wear shoes at work. Because, you're there for, 6, 5, 7 hours by yourself. Just no one's around. So you're like, fuck it, man. I'm just going to be comfortable. And then before you know it, you're in sweatpants and sandals. And you're doing dabs under the camera while you're watching Netflix. Because, seniority has its perks.
I'll tell you, when I first started working there, it was much easier to do. And then as time went by and the store built, and we got bigger, and we started having new departments, and then we bring on Nathanson and we bring on these other people. And then all of a sudden I'm in these meetings and I got my flip flops and my toes hanging out, and I'm sitting around people who are actually dressed like maybe they should be dressed in these meetings. And I thought, oh, you know what? I probably should put some socks and shoes on for the next meeting. So I started that was my dress up for work, socks and shoes.
Yeah, that was my favorite. Was we always had our outfits, because once 7 p.m. started rolling around and people started coming in, that's when it was like, all right, we got to put these shoes on. Yo, what up, JP?
What's up, man?
Hey, man. It is so.
Both of these I cleaned and sterilized. So I clean them, then I use 70% ice to sterilize them. So they're both like.
Yeah, so that'll be yours. We can pack it. We got a bunch of weed, and then that's your joint and such. JP from the store because I would bring him around all the time. When did you stop working at the store?
Right when I dropped the virus off and took off to Vietnam.
Yeah. You're like, here you go, everybody. Peace.
Yeah, no, it was we did, they did a roast of me in late February, and a week and a half later I flew to Vietnam.
I was bummed I didn't go to that. I can't remember why. I think I was on the road.
No, it's because you just don't give a shit about it.
Oh, come on. You know you were my favorite.
No, I get it.
When did you first get to the store? Because I remember you were around. I was there before you. No, not to brag, but I remember you coming in, and then especially with all the changes, and then your being at the store was very interesting.
Yeah, I arrived January 2016, so it was right. I think maybe 2 years of things getting better and better and better and better at that point, probably. Eric had been around for a little while.
Yeah.
And so things had gotten busier and busier. They brought me on January 2016.
And what was your position?
Eric at the time was the general manager, and so he hired me on as the assistant GM, which at the time they didn't necessarily need the extra people, but it was because things were getting busy.
Yeah, and they also had to listen. I mean, when you come into the Comedy Store, especially when Eric came in and then you came in, you really had to whip a lot of us fucking deviants into shape because, I mean, I remember how just undisciplined all of us were, especially at that place at the time. We were literally just smoking weed at the back door, and then it was just like, all right, you guys can only smoke weed in the back. And then it got to the point where we were just walking to the back. It's like, all right, listen, you guys you can't just have security cover you at the back door while you're just smoking pot in the back. I get you're all comedians, but come on. It was it changed for the better. I think it did great. And I think you were a great addition there. And you were actually one of the only managers that I thought was dope because you would sit and watch all the employees and like the potlucks and stuff, and I thought that was cool.
Yeah, I feel like the store, and really it was just the way I handled it was lucky for me. But the store's the kind of place where you really have to be accepted. You can't find your way in, and I feel like I felt I spent the first few months. As luckily as the assistant GM, so I could sit back and watch Eric and watch him do his job, and I could sit back and not be an ass kicker, like not be that hard ass boss, and just kind of watch how things are going, learn the store, learn how it kind of operates in a practical way, rather than what are the rules and who's breaking rules, but really understand the people at the store and how it operates, because it's the people that make the store run. So the place has been there way longer before I've been there and you've been there, and it'll be way past us. So, kind of spending time watching how the store operates was great and really important. And as far as watching the comics, man, I've been a fan of stand-up comedy my whole life. So the opportunity to work in a place where I could go sit in the back of the room and watch comics working on their material was a fucking dream.
Yeah.
So.
What'd you do before? Just like club management, or?
Yeah, I mean, I got into the job through being a bar manager. I'd worked. I came out here and bartended in Burbank for a while, and then ran a bar in Culver City, and then opened up a bar, not my bar that I owned, but I opened up as a bar manager and set up drink lists and all that stuff for a couple bars out in Malibu. Right. And then I took some time off and did a couple films. And I thought, well, let me get back into it, but let me actually step into a management job so I can have a little more security and just see how that goes. And I literally just luckily stumbled into the Comedy Store.
And let
What
me
a stumble.
tell, where did you expect any of the shit that you had to see and or deal with when you were coming in? Because I can't even. What was the first time having to meet the Ding Dongers and Don Barris and shit like that?
Yeah, Don, yeah. I mean, I love Don to death. Don is one of my favorite people in the world. When I first met Don, I had seen Windy City Heat, and so I knew of Don from that. And then watching, so, I've been a fan. I was a fan of Stern. I was a fan of Tom Green back in the day when he was doing his thing. I am a fan of that kind of stuff. I'm a fan of bringing interesting personalities together and seeing what happens. So I was the guy who would go up on Monday nights and sit in the back.
Yeah.
Even I mean, now the Ding Dong Show, at least by the end of it, was getting 20 or 30 people showing up. When I got there was really nobody in the audience other than who they were filming to. But I loved it. I'd go sit in the back and watch it.
I mean, it really was like a circus of sorts. And you managed around the time when I was pretty much just a door guy, like working the late night shifts and all that jazz. It was before I was like going on the road and stuff. So it felt like those late night shifts where it was like you, me, all the other door guys just in the back watching Don, like laughing our asses off, tossing shit. That was like the funnest. Or just like, having to run a room and then like, you're walking around and it's like, nothing crazy is going on and then something absolutely crazy starts going on. Like, I remember one of my favorite moments was, it was like, so there was a moment when like Boone Shakalaka would come and Boone would come and he'd lay all of his stuff out on the patio for people to buy. And then I remember one time he would lay out like CDs and books and shit. And then I remember one time he came out and he laid out a bunch of porn and it was just porn on like a table. And it was like 10 DVDs of it. And then like Eric walked by and he goes, "Oh, okay, no, Boone, you can't.
Church are cool. This is too much.
Oh my God, that place is just so fucking it's ridiculous.
And that was one of the best things, like coming in and learning from Eric, because there were all those individual personalities there. There was Boone and there's there was Sunset Jesus obviously before he left us. There are all these people who they're not paying customers. They're not necessarily comics. They're certainly not going on stage. They're just people that are hanging out at the store. And I used to have those conversations with Eric, where at any normal business, you would go to those people and go, "You got to get out. We can't have you just hanging out at this place." But Eric understood that having that sort of vibe at the Comedy Store is what made the Comedy Store what it was.
Yeah.
And so having Boone out there selling his shit on the side of the thing is part of what the Comedy Store is. And being able to work there around people who recognize that and just kind of allowed that vibe to continue even while the business became a business was great.
Yeah. It was, it really is like a magical place. What did you think the first time you saw Potluck for the first time?
Well, the first time I saw Potluck was 4 years before I started working in
Really?
the Comedy Store. Yeah, I went there twice on Sunday nights when they were doing it on Sundays.
Yeah.
And this is when they had the low tops on the front patio, and there was nobody out there. And I went in, the one night I was there for a while, I was there for like 3 hours. And there was never more than 15 people in the room at a time. And people were constantly coming in and out. And it was both fascinating and depressing because it was the Comedy Store. But to me, to go to a room with not many people in it, watch somebody go up on stage and try to entertain and try to be funny is extremely entertaining to me.
Oh, yeah.
So watching our potluck, which was a whole different thing once I got there.
Yeah, if you want to explain the differences that you saw.
Yeah, by the time I started working at the store, and then as time went on, I mean, the potlucks are, there are 150 to 200 people signing up. Everybody's just trying to squeeze in and get their 3 minutes on stage. But I mean, it was packed with comics. But by the end of my run there, it was 3/4 filled with people.
Yeah, it was audience. I remember there was exactly how you said it. It was empty as fuck. And then I remember I was a little bit later, as I was a door guy, I was sitting there, and one of the newer door guys was I came to do my spot, and I was like, "What's it like in there?" And he was like, "Oh, it's fucking dead." And I walked in, and it was half full, and I was like, "Oh, this motherfucker doesn't know what it was like when it was dead." Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. The thing that fascinates me are all the people that show up to the open mic the hour before the potluck starts. It's, 150 people trying to get 3-minute spots.
Yeah.
And really in the end, it's like, it gives you an opportunity to get on the Comedy Store stage, but you better be doing your other work and good and getting out there and getting on all these other stages in order to really have a chance to get into the store. Because I'd have friends who would come to me and would say that. I'd say, listen, I can probably get you 3 minutes on our open mic. That's all I can get you. Outside of that, you've got to be a great comic to get on the store,
and
get on the stage.
That's the thing. Everyone thinks it's, all right, who do I ask to get in front and then get the shot? And it's like, yo, you got to be careful what you ask for. Because if you get the shot, that's your shot.
You got to take it.
Yeah.
You gotta make it, I mean.
Yeah, and I mean, as a manager, you've seen that. I mean, because there's been plenty of times where, like, I've looked at you where I've rolled my eyes because someone's on stage, or like someone's like, we see it. Someone's talking to somebody, or you're like, who's that? And I'm just like, I don't know. And you're like, ugh, because I mean, we see it happen all the time there. But it was, I remember a friend of yours or someone you knew through comedy. Actually got up, and you were like, you weren't like worried or anything, but you were just like, how did he do? And I was like, oh, he did good. And you're like, oh, thank God. You were like, because I wasn't like, I don't want to like put him, I don't want to put like my name or anything, but I also like, I knew it was funny, and I didn't want to have any involvement in it at all, but it's just good to know that he's funny. And I'm like, yeah. Because there's certain people who are just like, all right, well, we got to put him up, because and then they go up and it's fucking bad.
My favorite thing is showing up 30 minutes early to potluck to watch the open mic.
Oh yeah,
every time. I'm there at 6:30. Yeah.
Oh, it's the best. Yeah, I mean, you've seen so many people bomb. Have you? I mean, because you would walk through. You weren't part of the job for you. I remember you would walk through, and so you got to walk through the big shows, like our pro shows. Then you got to walk through, like, people doing the development spots. And then you got to walk through, the late Friday bringer shows. So you got to see pretty much comedy at all of the different levels. What are some of your favorite bombs?
You asked me to call out specific people.
You don't have to call out specific people, but you could give very great descriptions so we could figure it out.
I'll be honest. My favorite thing about watching the people bomb early on is watch people get better. Now, not everybody gets better. That's true, but there are a handful of comics who I watch who I felt like that. I watched early and I was like, I don't think this, like maybe this person needs to be looking for a different kind of job. and within a year or two, you watch it and you watch them grow, and you watch somebody on stage become comfortable with just being on stage. And that really is a lot of it, is just being comfortable up there. And so watching people progress and get better and better was fantastic for me. And Frank, you were one of them. You weren't somebody who I didn't like at first, but I watched how much better you got. I mean, I got to see you from door guy to getting passed to roast battle champ to being a real kind of force in comedy. Like watching that whole progression. Those things are what are the most exciting things for me.
Comedy Store, man. Absolutely, man. And it's also because when it's going on, we don't see it. I'm not, because you're always so in it, you're unaware of these things, and you would pull me aside and be like, hey, I saw you did this, and I was like, oh, dope, cool, because I'm just fucking swinging out here. And I think that's the one thing that me and Fury also agreed where, Adam is such a tough job being the talent coordinator, especially when it's like, he's dealing with legendary people. And I was saying how, like, I think you would have been so great as just, like, a development person, just with, like, either the employees or, like, the development system. Because I do think there's got to be someone who, like, can pay attention to the younger guys. Because Adam's just so busy. But it's also, like, you got to care about it, you know? Because a lot of it was figuring it out on our own. And Adam would sometimes be like, hey, you're doing this right. Or, hey, I like this. And I'm just like, oh, dope, perfect. And it's so funny how much of that you really do need. But you also don't want to, like, I also understand Adam's point where he was like, I don't want to, like, be influential too much because then I'm changing, you know, you, and you are the artist. You got to just do your shit. And it's like, oh, okay. But I definitely like the encouragement you would give to me and other door guys. Like, you know, you also got to see Luke do so much good things. You got to see Jay, and you got to see so many great door guys become better comics and get to open up for so many dope people. Yep. And that's the episode, guys. Cool, I'm just going to clip that. But back to the people that bombed. Do you remember? I mean, I think you've walked in on me bombing a bunch.
Everybody. I mean, I've seen everybody bomb. Everybody bombs. I mean, maybe Rogan doesn't bomb. Everybody else bombs.
I love bombing, though. It was because bombing, especially at the store, is interesting. Because if you're bombing on, like, a bringer show, then it was just kind of like, oh, well, you fucking people weren't even here to see me. So, you know, and then you're just being, you just make fun of them. You're like, your favorite person is, you know, your cousin that dragged you here. You're paying $160 to see your friend. Shut up. You know, shit like that.
What is the, isn't it, doesn't Ari Shaffir have a calendar where he said you got to bomb 100 times to be a real comic?
Yeah, absolutely. And he marked every single bomb. Yeah. Because there does get to a point where it's like, me and Hannah would talk about it. It's like you get to a point where it's like you're not bombing every time. Now you're just doing well. You know, now you're just working on your consistency. And then bombs happen every now and then. But then when they happen, it's almost worse because you're just like, oh, this hasn't happened in so long. There's been times where I'm like, oh, okay, I've been doing well for like 3 months. I gotta suck for a little bit.
I wonder if you get to a point, asking you the question as a comic where you can get to the point where the audience isn't as important in the process, meaning where you spit it out. I think of it as an actor, when I go into an audition, the idea for me is I go in, I do it, I spit out what I'm doing, and then I walk out of the room and I go away. And sometimes if I'm in the room, the response I'm getting from the people is good. Sometimes it's not. You get all different things. But for me, what I try to do is not give a shit about any of that and just do it and then walk out of the room and go. And I wonder if for comedy, as a comic, if you get to that point where, you know what, I'm going to go on stage, I'm going to do my thing, I'm going to be funny, I'm going to do my art, I'm going to spit it out, I'm going to go off stage, they're going to like it, they're not going to like it, whatever it is, and then go from there.
Yeah, I do think it does get to that point because you look at like the big dudes like Bill or Joe or all these guys where it's like the store and all these places are a workout room where it's like this crowd isn't like this crowd is the crowd I'm going to work on. Like I'm working out in front of this crowd. Like I'm not like I'm trying to make them laugh, but I don't care if I smash in this set. I'm working towards these next sets, you know, or like I'm working on this craft. I'm working on these bits. Because it's going towards the special. I think that when you start to have that dynamic, it changes because those big guys have their audiences now, so they're building the act to give to those audiences and to the new audiences, right? So when they're doing these other shows, like they want to smash, but they're also like working on the act. So if it doesn't, they understand that they're like, all right, well, I'm changing things, I'm working on things. So it's not that like I don't care how this goes in this audience. It's more like I'm working on it. If it doesn't go well, that's fine. I'm going to make the adjustments, you know, because this is awareness of knowing like, all right, it may not suck. It may not be great now, but it's going to be good because I'm working towards it. Whereas like guys like me and like who don't have specials or that big fan bases, it's like we have to smash this show. We have to do well because, you know, we're trying to make something ourselves or we're trying to get noticed and all that jazz.
Even when you're working out, though, do you find that like the audience feedback is beneficial, even if you're going in there saying I don't really care, like I just want to get this out and work on it?
I think it depends on what the joke is, where it's like if it's a joke that I've been doing for a long time and stuff, it's like, all right, I know this is going to hit. If it doesn't, well, then I know this usually hits. Maybe it might just be this audience, but if it's new stuff, then you're like, all right, this may or may not hit, and I'm working on it. And then if it does well, you're like, all right, cool, perfect. And then you can move on from there. And if it doesn't do well, then you're like, all right, well, now I know I got to go back and fix it or figure it out.
If I want to keep doing
that. If I want to keep doing that.
Fix it up.
Yeah, like watching Jeselnik at the store was always interesting because he'd always come up with his paper, all of his new jokes. He'd have like 8 jokes on one subject, and he'd narrow down which one he'd like, and then by the next time he'd come back and he'd have, refined sets, shit's moved, shit's gone, new stuff's added. Like, that dude worked.
Yeah, even some of his main room shows, like, he'd go and he'd do like just like 12 or 13, and then the last 2 or 3 minutes would be new shit. Like, pull the list out.
Yeah.
And just like, wait, see what you guys.
And he had a good, interesting. I remember talking to him about it. He was like, I think he was like, when I bomb, not even that's bombing, where it's like when he doesn't do well at the store because it's new jokes. It's this idea of like no one gives him shit or anything, or everyone respects him more because they're watching him work. Or like if you're watching a big dude like that bomb, whatever it's called, you know what I mean, like quotations, bombing, and it's him working on stuff, but then the next time it's getting better and better, then it's like, oh no, that man's working. You know what I mean?
It's one of the best things about the comedy store.
Oh, yeah.
It's like people ask me, they'll say, oh, who's going up this weekend or who's going to be there? And I said, no, you don't understand what the comedy store is. That's true about all other comedy clubs. And again, I've been a fan for 30 years, so I've gone to a ton of different clubs. There's nothing like going to the store. Because when you're going there, you're not going to see Rogan do an hour and a half and then a feature before him doing 45 and then an opener doing 10 or 15. You're seeing the biggest comics in the world doing 15, 15, 15, and they're doing exactly what you just said. They're all working out material. They're working it out to try to get it so that they can bring it into a bigger hour special or just a bigger set. And so you get to sit there and watch the work as opposed to watching somebody come out and do a polished set. And somebody who's a fan of stand-up comedy, I don't think there's anything better than that.
Oh, absolutely. It's great because you get to like watch it and then you get to go watch the special and you're like, I saw them when they were doing this. And that's the cool thing too, where I've had family like my dad or my grandpa come and watch, and then they'll watch the special and be like, I saw them work at the thing. I'm like, yeah, it's a moment. You have that special moment now where you got to see them do a thing, Yeah.
That was always what fascinated me about Chappelle.
Mm-hmm.
I remember there was the time when Chris Rock came in and he was getting prepared for the Oscars.
Yep, that was a great week.
And you're watching him work out his material, and he's got writers in the back, and they're tagging jokes, and you watch him polish this material. And then he did the same thing for his Blackout tour.
Yeah,
and we got to see it develop.
Yeah, because he developed it a lot at the store.
Yeah, yeah, and so right at the time that had happened. Dave comes out and puts out 3 specials, 3-hour-long specials. Now, during that time, David come in 20 times over that last year, coming in late night, doing sets, sitting in the back. I watched his specials. I didn't recognize much of any of it. Mm-hmm. And I thought, how the fuck? Like, how good is he that he comes to the comedy store over and over? He's not really working out that material. He's just playing and having fun and being Dave. Yeah. And then he is so good that he can come out in 3-hour-long specials and kill. So,
yeah, it's insane.
Just the process and the different ways that comics go about doing what they do. I mean, it's the best thing about the store.
Yep, it was great. And the other side of being at the store, especially as like a door guy, you get spoiled a lot. With stage time, you also get spoiled with great stories like that, where you're just like working, and then you get to be a part of those amazing moments. Like every time Chappelle would come, because I was super dope at seating people, his manager would have me run the belly room shows. You know what I mean? And I got to do that, and that was great. And then I got to open up for him on those shows, but it gets to a point where like you're just working there so much, you get to see the thing you love that people do all the time, and then not a bitterness shows up, but you're like, I got to get out of here and stuff, and you get to see like, I don't want to say squirreliness, but it's definitely like that. Like, you see it. It's like senioritis of certain door guys, where it's like, I got to get out. I can't be like a 9-year, 10-year door guy. But yeah, no, I think you've seen a few different kind of door guys go through that, right? Yeah,
I mean that's. I'd love to sit and have a conversation with you and Luke and some of the guys who've been there for a little while and get your perspective on that, on what it is to be a door, to have been there through a big transition of what the store was and what the store is.
Yeah.
And then your position in comedy from where it was there and where it is now, and what that means when you still show up at your minimum wage door guy job, but you're a bigger comic than these other guys, and you've got more stuff going, and you're doing all that. How
it's like a weird. I guess it's like comedy purgatory, but it's also like still the best. Like there's definitely times of like, I have credits, I have all these things. and I get to go on the road and do all these dope things, but you still don't have the fan base to fully be able to headline and stuff yet. And then you get to, but there's no other job I'd rather have. You know what I mean? Like I wouldn't quit and then go work at the Improv, or like quit and then go work at a dispensary, or quit and just do anything else. So it's like the easiest job to have, but it's also like you're surrounded by people that are doing the thing you love, and you know you're like, I want to do it, and you are doing it, but it's just weird, like feeling of like, I gotta get out of the shirt, and I gotta be on the other side of it. But also when you're on the other side of it, you're just kind of like, well, fuck the stability of having a paycheck, and also like, you know, there was like, I mean, I've talked about quitting with you for like a long time. There's been a lot of times where it was almost like, all right, this is it, I could quit. And then it's like, you know, you got to come back to work, just for the stability. And like, I think after Roast Battle, I quit for like a few months, right? Mm-hmm. And I went to I did that. Then I was on the road. And then I came back and did phones because someone had to go to school. But I mean, even then, it's better now because she has a dope job and pays for everything now. But a solid few months before coronavirus and everything hit, like Rogan came up to me, Mo Amer came up to me, like a lot of headliners were like, you got to quit, man. You know, because, you know, you got credits, you tour for everybody. They're like, you got to make the jump, and then the world ends. And then the only reason we're able to pay our bills is because I was still working at the Comedy Store. So it's a weird thing, because it's like you want to quit, you want to just be a comic, and you can, but you can't do it irresponsibly. You got to make sure you have like a year worth of stuff booked. And I had like 6 months because I had enough headliners that you could make enough money surviving featuring for everybody, you know? But it's also like you don't want to be a feature for your whole life. And also, I didn't want to do that either. I didn't want to be like a satellite comic, you know, where you're just like somebody's opener. You're no longer like Frank Castillo. You're like, hey, that's so-and-so's opener. You know what I mean? And then they get in trouble, and then all of a sudden your fucking whole schedule's done. You know what I mean?
Business cards online.
Yeah. Your fucking business cards online. You can't sell dick towels no more. But it's the whole thing of trying to make it on your own. And if you're trying to make it on your own in comedy now, it's almost impossible because everything's going on. But even then, it was like, you know, having the stability of a job like this with the money and the people you meet, like, especially my job at the store was like I was talking to everybody. Like, I would have to text everybody their schedules and shit, and then if people hit me up, I have to make sure it was to Adam and stuff. And I remember for like a solid month, I was trying to like make myself less important there. And then eventually, like, Adam like called me and was like, "Hey man, fucking, I need you to fucking work these Monday shifts. I can't, you know what I mean? Like, people aren't getting their times right and shit." And I was like, "Oh,
you
fuck."
text AutoSend now. What are you talking about?
So it's also just one of these things of like it's like I made myself almost too important. You know what I mean? I almost made myself too dependable. But it's also good because, you know, when someone like Rogan or someone big needs something, they just hit me up and it's like, all right, cool, I got it done. So it's good and it's bad. I mean, ultimately, it's good. You know, how can you complain about making $13 an hour while I'm watching Netflix all day, smoking weed every fucking hour and a half, walking to my car? You know what I mean? Like, it's hard to complain about it. And it's hard to be like, you know, it's hard to be woe is me. You know what I mean? Like, she's got to deal with people that are fucking dealing with real psychological mental problems, you know? I couldn't go on the tour with this person that I wanted to go through. You know what I mean? And it's like, fuck it. I'm going to go eventually, you know? So it's just, it's a give and take. It's the easiest job in the world. It's the dopest job in the world. But you're also watching everyone do the thing that you want to do so fucking bad. But
it's like being a PA on a set.
Yeah,
an actor.
exactly.
You get to watch the actors do the shit that you really want to be doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I find it interesting. I mean, you talk about the bigger name comics coming up to you and saying, you know, it's time for you to take the leap. It's time for you to do that. I mean, I wonder if it, you know, because you can work at the Comedy Store and you can make a little bit of money and you can do pretty much all of the work, the comedy work you want to, because you get off work to do that. We give you that space to do that. So it really is about how you're being perceived.
That's what all it is.
By the comics.
It's how you're being perceived.
And once you step off of, okay, I'm not a door guy anymore. I'm no longer I mean, obviously you're always a developing comic, but I'm no longer a developing comic. I am now a professional comic. I no longer have this job. all I do is comedy. I go on the road. I'm here to do that, and you're looked at differently because of that.
Absolutely,
that's the biggest reason
to
make that leap.
But it's also hard to explain that to your wife when then she's just like, I give a fuck how everyone perceives you. You should have them perceive this bank account. You know what I mean? What's the perception when that rent bill comes in? You know what I mean? Like, yeah, this is dope, but these motherfuckers, you know? And I also get her point. But no, it is absolutely perception, because you don't want them to always just think of you as an employee. You always want them to think of you as a comic. But it's also like, you know, it's good to be a hardworking comic. Yeah. You know, and there truly is perks of both. Like, I've gotten everything from working at the store. So it's tough, you know. But it's also like, you know, when...
But how did it feel going back the other night?
Actually, it wasn't bad at all.
Yeah, there you go.
I literally had to check temps, and I was like, there's no one here.
Did you work? You worked the other night?
Yeah, they called me in. But even then, they didn't even need me, because it was just kind of like, it's so crazy the way it is that they're just like, well, yeah. And then even then, it was just kind of like, oh... It was weird. It felt good to be back, but I definitely went back because it was like, well, I love this place. You know what I mean? I do want to be here and like help it when it is in a weird spot. You know what I mean? Because they're starting to kind of try to do like streaming shows, you know, but even though they can't stream because live entertainment, blah, blah. So people are just watching it on their Twitch phones, which is the best way to do it. But it's just like, you know, giving back to the place that you love, you know, and it's like having an extra $80 is pretty dope.
So how is it just because La Jolla, that city in San Diego, just has different regulations that they're able to have outdoor shows just because it's not as tied down?
San Diego's just a little bit different. The way that their numbers are, they're able to do different. They're able to do their phases different. Here, it's like, it's interesting because I was there working when the city of LA came up, and they were just giving a shit. Yeah. Like they didn't like that the TVs were in the parking lot.
They were just projectors and shit.
Yeah, they're like, this could draw a crowd, and it was just like, well, obviously it's not. There's 3 people here. There's what crowd? There's no one here. And then you know, they were just giving shit, and I was like, oh, that sucks. They're really just going after like. I felt like they were going after live comedy a lot, because you go to West Hollywood. And, you know, there's TVs on and everything. They're still just doing... Yeah, they're still going...
Sidewalk bars.
Yeah, they're still popping, which is... I don't know. It's just... I think it sucks a lot because it's like, this directly affects me. So it's like, if I could just do... I don't know. If I could still be doing stand-up, I think things would be a little bit better.
When was the last time you were on stage?
I did 2 shows since quarantine closed. One was in San Diego, the American Comedy Co. They were doing, like, quarantine shows. So they, like, you know, did all the proper stuff. And it was actually kind of nice. It was dope. And then I did a bar show the day before they reclosed everything again. So when it was like, for like a week, they were like, all right, bars with the kitchen can open up again. And then they did like a comedy show. And then the next day they were like, all right, that shit's done. And then we're just like, fuck. It felt good to be back on stage, but it's just, it's weird. It's the longest I've gone. It feels like it's the longest everyone's gone without doing stand-up.
I feel like if you're going to start stand-up comedy, this is the time to do it.
Really?
Because so many people are going to have jumped down a couple levels.
Oh my God!
By the time they have to get back up again, you know that you're already kind of in the group. You can be really shitty to start off and not be that far behind everybody else.
Oh, it is. It is. It's going to be interesting. I've had a lot of people hit me up about like stand-up stuff and like what it's going to be like when it goes back. But I don't know. I think it's going to be a few years until it's fully back to the way it used to be.
I don't know how we fit 350 people in a room again until this thing is not with us.
Yeah.
Well, it's like Disney World opened, and now they're like, oh no, everyone's fucked. And it came. Like, they had tons of cases.
Oh yeah, that was happiest and sickest place on earth. So I love watching fucking blunders at the store. Like, I was talking to someone else the other day about it. I mentioned it like a few episode ago, but it was like, I remember I watched someone ask Adam for a door guy job, like just on the patio randomly, and he was just like, what? No. And that shit fucking made me laugh so hard. And I can only imagine some of the shit that you've had to go through with stuff like that. Any like ones that stand out that you were just like, it's fucking ridiculous? I'm trying to think of just store stories that we had.
I don't know if I have a story. I have. You're right that we get a ton of people at the store who want to work at the store because it's the Comedy Store. Mm-hmm. And so dealing with people coming in was different than any other kind of job because I had to filter that. I had the first thing you have to filter is the crazy. Yeah. You got to filter is this a person who is obsessed with the Comedy Store And that's why they're here. And the first thing that gives it away is when they say, "I'll do anything." What are you here for? What are you applying for? Anything. What do you want me to do? And I go, well, you know.
And then you have them run food.
Do I get a shirt? Exactly. In the end, the people that get through all of that, which it does take a lot to get through all of that, they end up starting in the kitchen. And usually they are also all crazy people who are also obsessed with the store, but they have something else that got them the spot, whether it be something in their personality, something that they brought, something in their they kept on it, whatever it might be. And truthfully, it really created, in my opinion, one of the best kitchen staffs I've been around.
Fuckshot boys.
Fuckshot boys.
We went through a lot of people in the kitchen. That was always up and down. But
man, El Tocho is my favorite. Wait, you remember
Crackers, dog?
Yeah, you remember?
Sorry, Cackles.
Cackles
my
is
bad.
Yeah, Cackles is
Cackles
is white El Tocho.
He's nuts.
When I first got there, I kept telling Adam, I said, El Tocho is going to be the first. In my time here, El Tocho is going to be the first one that's going to get a TV show out of this. He's getting a sitcom.
I mean, I straight up was like, I'm trying, like, when I write this sitcom, and El Tocho is fucking someone in my family. And by the way, no one's ever writing him a line. It's just he goes up and he just says whatever, and then we just like, all right, how does this fit into the episode? And then we just figure it out.
The episode around it.
Yeah, absolutely. Dude, my favorite was when he would go up and do time in the potluck, because one, it was so great because it fucked so many people, because the potluck is so tough. You're in front of the talent coordinator, like you're doing your best 3 minutes in front of them. So you're hoping to get picked. You finally get picked, right? The fucking host gives you a dope fucking intro. You know what I mean? You're just like, all right, sweet. You're excited. You fucking moved from like Arkansas or whatever the fuck. You know what I mean? You've been killing it at your local Chuckle Fuckers or whatever the hell you went to. And then you get there and then you're like, who's in front of me? El Tocho, poppin'. All right. And then they bring up El Tocho, which is this Mexican guy who cooks the chicken tenders at the store, doesn't speak any fucking English. And all he says during his set that you can understand is pussy. And then he puts a glove on, and he talks about fucking his wife, pussy, lesbians, and just Mexican shit. And, like, you can't understand anything, but the audience, when they see him, the first, like, 5 seconds, like, what the fuck is this? And then the next rest of his time, they're in love with it because it's the funniest shit. I don't know why it's funny, but he fucking murders. And then every fucking person that has to follow El Tocho can't. He fucking they can't. Anyone on the open mic, they just don't know how to do it. And the people that figure it out how to follow him, those are the people that's like, all right, cool. They like, but dude, following El Tocho, it's hard to follow a Mexican guy that only says pussy. It's just something funny about it, bruh. Yeah, he would just murder.
El Tocho is great. He's got a store now. He's got a store where he's selling shit.
Really?
Yeah.
Him and Boone working together?
Yeah, I don't know. I swear to God, I saw Boone driving in today. By the way, I was coming down Highland right before Franklin, and to my right, I swear, I think I saw Boone.
Boone, my wife. So
I don't know where he is.
Yeah. So there's rumors that Boone has a house in like Palmdale or some Pasadena or some shit, and it's like a house, and he's just got a bunch of stuff, and he just goes there and drops it off, picks it up, and comes back, and like we're all convinced Boone is just a millionaire, and this is just what he does, because there's so many of those kinds of people that would come to the store. Yep. But Boone is, man, he's a character. I remember I would buy Hannah a bunch of shirts from Boone, and I would just buy a bunch of shirts at the end of the night because you'd make tip money, and then you're just buying shirts for $1. They used to be $1, now they're like fucking $4.
Inflation,
goddamn,
baby.
dude, it is insane. Boone fucking up those prices, dog. Cost of living adjustment. He moved to Hollywood. It's crazy. But I remember Hannah was driving down the road with her coworker, and she saw Boone, and she was like, "Oh my God, that's Boone Shakalaka!" And she like rolled down the window. She was like, "Hey, Boone!" And he like waved, and her coworker was like, "What the? Wow. How do you know this homeless man?" She was like, "No. He's not homeless. I buy shirts from him all the time." And they're just like, "All right." Yeah, man.
One of my favorites is going to a sold out roast battle show and then having Boone come on right before everything.
Oh yeah.
And half people look very confused, and half people fucking love it, and it's the best. The best start.
Yeah, audience reactions was also some of my favorite things at the store.
Oh yeah.
Not only from those situations of specific personalities that people would just be confused by, but also watching comics where I've seen their sets a bunch and I know I know what's coming. I know what joke's coming, and I'll focus in on certain people in the audience and try to see where it's landing and where it's not, and seeing the audience react to all of those things is fascinating up there.
Yeah, handling customers was always my favorite too. So how would you say the handling of customers is, or the philosophy of handling the customers is at the Comedy Store?
Well, it was great for me. It was great for me.
Wait, before we get into it, the store is it is a comedy club first, and the thing that I loved about the store, and the thing that you guys definitely, I feel like you guys stressed with us when you guys were working there was, if they're ruining the show, if they're a problem, they're like, we'll back you up. You can kick them out. If they are fucking ruining the show and they're just a disturbance, they don't need to be here. And that what I thought was really, really cool, because not a lot of places are like that, where it's like, oh, we're always backing the customer no matter what. We're never backing the employee. Like, I always felt like you guys had our backs.
Yeah, I think I came from, and Eric came, both of us came from the bar business, where both of us for 20 plus years started out as busboys, worked as waiters, as bar backs, as bartenders, like the whole thing, all the way up through management. So I think when you do that, you recognize that the customer is not always right. When you have to, when you need to stand up for your staff, and you need to allow people, you need to give people who work for you the trust that they're gonna be able to do their job, and they're not gonna get fucked over unless they do something that's fucked up. So being at the store, one of the great things for me is Eric always kind of was okay with me handling things that way, is that I could. And so there were times when I'd talk to customers, and the customer was a piece of shit, and I knew the customer was a piece of shit, and the employee didn't do anything wrong, and the customer can fuck off, and they can leave. And obviously I didn't tell the customer to fuck off, but we'd say you have to leave.
The door guy did.
Nicely,
Yeah. There were times, well, we had, when Chelsea called that woman a cunt, that was.
It is. Yeah, man, it is.
Explained to her that, listen, you can't, because the thing was, the woman was. I mean, in this situation, the woman was, and I knew that. But I explained to her. I said, listen. I said, if you call her that, then I now have to apologize to this cunt because you have called her that. I can't call her a cunt. What I can do is treat her like she's a cunt and explain to her she's going to have to leave. We get her out. She gets nothing out of it. She's gone. But when you call her a cunt, then now I have to apologize for a staff member call, because that's where my job is. I can't have staff members calling people cunts.
But if you were on stage calling them a cunt,
yes,
totally different,
valid.
totally valid. Which is also pretty hilarious about the store if you think about it, because there's been times where I remember that was like a thing. I think it was Rick Ingram had said it. I think Rick Ingram had told me, where he was like, if you say anything to someone when you're on the clock, you're an employee, you can get in trouble. But if you're on stage, you're a comic, baby. You can say whatever the fuck you want. And I think I've done that, too. I was on stage talking shit, and then I had to get off stage. I'm like, no, I'm an employee now.
I was kidding. That was funny.
I was on stage.
And that, you and I have had this conversation about just the political correctness isn't the right word for it, but just the way that we analyze the way people speak and their intentions, and the way that people can be attacked for things that sometimes can be taken out of context, sometimes they're not. All of these things, and how is that handled at the Comedy Store, where you have comics that have full free reign on stage to do whatever they want, and they do whatever they want, as you know. You guys say, whatever it is you want on stage, and so the one of the, I think, good things about the Comedy Store for me that I learned was that night after night, having that happen on stage, we didn't have that many complaints. People who came there understood. They got it. They understood it was jokes. And they understood also that people were working stuff out. So even if it didn't land right, even if it sounded in a way that was off, people accepted it. They were okay with it. They moved on. They understood that that's what was going on, and there wasn't any malicious intent with any of it.
It's also, to break that even down even further, I think the audience and the people in the room have an awareness. Because I remember being on one side of that where... I think it was a Chappelle show, actually. They had a new door guy. I think it was Dylan. They had Dylan seat the room. And you know Dylan. He's big. He's chubby. He's fucking adorable. Sweetest kid in the world. And, when you seat people, when you first start seating people, it is a little nerve-wracking. Because you do get... If you're not confident or like stern, people will just walk all over you and be like, I want to sit over there.
Particularly if it's a Chappelle show.
Especially if it's a Chappelle show. Yeah. And especially with his manager, it's very, he has guests, it's very like, you have to seat that shit perfect. If you don't have enough, if you don't squeeze everybody in there, you will get it's a problem. Yeah. So, and it's a big important show. And it's so funny how the belly room is literally just same seats, same people, but whoever's running the show, it depends. It's interesting to see how the importance of that room changes, but it's just the same room, So when Chappelle comes in, it's a huge deal. So I remember I was there just running sound, just make sure the room was fine. I wasn't on the clock at the time, and I was getting ready to open, and then I remember Dylan was just getting steamrolled by these people, and they were just putting up a fight, and he had to move them a few times because he didn't know this was a saved section or whatever, and they were just giving him shit. And I literally just walked up and just started screaming at him. And I was like, what the fuck are you guys doing? I'm like, fucking move. This guy's telling you to move. He works here, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, this is a fucking Chappelle show. Clearly, these are saved for VIPs and blah, blah. And I was just giving it to him. And the VIPs above them were just like,
up in the section, yeah.
They were just enjoying it. And I knew it was like someone like important.
Yeah.
But they were just watching me just give it to these fucking people. These people were like, ugh. And they were like I think they said something about me too. That's also the other thing is like, if you say something within earshot, I'm gonna confront you about it because confrontation isn't scary to me, especially when it's just you saying something. You know what I mean? Like your words aren't gonna make me scared. You know what I mean? So I remember I said something. I was like, what? I was like, I think I repeated back what they said. I was like, what does that mean? And they were just like, I'm like, what the? So then they ended up getting set right in front of me, and I was like doing the sound. So then I ended up going up, and then I remember doing my set, and then I remember confronting them while I was on stage and just being like, oh, yeah, you thought I was just a fucking employee. Nope, I'm a fucking comic. You know what I mean? I was like, oh, no, I hope he doesn't say anything. Nope, you guys are fucking assholes. And then I was like, shame on you for being so mean to this poor fucking kid who's just doing his job. And then I remember the people that were above me that saw it were just like, yep. And I was like, see, these people fucking love me. But it was like I was giving these people shit, but everyone in the room had saw it happen and saw them be shitty. So it was like you're acknowledging something that's in the room, and it is funny because it's like, oh, they didn't know, but now the whole audience is in on it and they get it, and it's just a little because it's not straight stand-up or comedy, but it's like, oh, that's someone kind of getting to do what they want. You know what I mean? Like they weren't expecting that, and now it's like, oh, they fucked up, and then like in like showing everybody what's going on, and then that is funny in itself because it is the funniest thing in the room. But the other side of that is I've seen it where like a comic's been on stage and has been rude to like a person, and it's one of those things of like the whole room consciousness of like them realizing it's like, oh no, he's in the wrong. So then they don't laugh at it. Like it's not funny. It is kind of mean, and then you see everyone turn on him. So it's like I can't remember what show it was. It was like a bringer show. One of the comics was just being rude to a server, and then it was just kind of like, yeah, you do have the right to say whatever you want, but you also got to be respectful of the place that you are, Yeah, I think you've had to do that too. You've had to like tell. I think you pulled a comic right off stage too after he was a dick to somebody.
Yeah, we pulled a comic off. Yeah, we pulled a comic for being shitty to the seater in the room. I'm trying to remember what the hell he said, and we shut the show down. Yeah, I mean, the thing at the Comedy Store is I always try to impress upon the people when they'd come in, we'd hire, is that it's bigger than any of us. And I tell the new, particularly the new door guys when they'd come in that when people, when you have a job like this and say if you're just at a regular club and a lot of people are rude to you and they're shitty to you and you got to deal with it, I'd explain to the new people coming out, you don't really have to deal with it as much at the store because the store is offering something that nobody else is offering. These people are here to see Chris Rock, Dave Chappelle, Joe Rogan, David Spade, Jeslyn. I mean, the list of the biggest comics in the world. And that's why they're here. You have the ability to not let them do it. You have the ability to go, you know what? You don't get to do that tonight. You have to leave. So I never felt like there was ever a reason to get upset or angry at people who are being shitty because you always had the power. The door guys had the power. Managers, we had the power. We had the power to take something away that's really fucking cool. And so most of the time, when they realize, most of the time, and it wasn't very often. Most of the people at the Comedy Store that come through are all cool as shit. But when we did have problems with people, very quickly when they realized, oh, this isn't the kind of place that's going to go, oh, I'm sorry, well, what can we do to make that up to you? Do you need this? And we weren't going to do that shit. We were going to evaluate the situation as it was, and explain to them that if we felt like that they were in the wrong here, that they could leave. Then they got very nice very quickly.
Yeah,
they did not want to leave one of the coolest places in the world.
Yeah, and also the other side of that is I've seen the store, especially because it is a family mom and pop shop. I've seen the store especially go out of their way to help just nice people, and I know I've gone out of the way. I remember when I first would get there, the management it was kind of, when it wasn't super packed or anything, people would be like, if there's seats, if it's late, yeah, you can let them slide, come on in. And I always would try to keep that in mind, whereas there was times where we were fucking absolutely sold out. It was packed to the gills, and, a couple from wherever the fuck was like, oh, we got fucked by tickets, or we got scammed, or they've never known what the place is, or they've never been here, and then it's like, all right, well, give me 30 minutes. If someone gives up, let me find you something. Yeah. And then it's we go out of your way to find a seat, to fucking find a space to squeeze someone, you go out of your way to try to make someone's night. And then I would do that. There'd be people, and then you're just like, oh, you're from Canada, you've heard about it, you're only here for a day? Cool. You know what? Fuck it. I'm going to do my best. Got you. Yeah. And then we get them somewhere, and they're like, oh, how much is the tickets? And you're just like, you know what? Just fucking take care of your server, enjoy the show. And then they're just like, oh, dope. And then those motherfuckers would come back a year later, 2 years later. They keep coming back because they're like, I love this place. The first time I ever came back, one of the door guys was just super nice to me. And I think that's one of the great things about the store is that you could still create magic moments like that by just being nice. And if you're a nice person, a nice customer, yeah, we'll do what we can.
Yeah, and and recognizing that the people that are coming to the store, they could be coming from anywhere around the country, around the world. The Comedy Store could be their number one thing on their list that they're coming to see, and giving the opportunity for them to have the best experience with that they can was a great thing about working there, and doing the things you're talking about, where people, again, they bought tickets for the wrong night, and they think, oh shit, there's nowhere we can get to be able to come in, and it's sold out, and we find them spots. No, we're going to take care of you. Being able to understand the place that the Comedy Store has for people who visit it, and then trying to accommodate where we can to make sure that the people that to make sure that people can have the best time they can.
Yeah. Yeah, man. It's a dope spot. How many times have you seen me smoke weed on the security camera where I was clocked in?
I don't count how many times you smoke weed, Frank.
Oh, okay, good. Because Eric did. He was like, he sent me a number. He was like 110.
That absolutely sounds like something. Absolutely.
Eric, I love Eric. I remember when I first came on, he got mad at me for smoking weed, but I like Eric a lot because I feel like as a manager, he was one of the best ones I had that really went out of his way to make me a better employee. And then even after I got a little bit more successful as a comic, he still would go out of his way to introduce me to people and just be a dope dude. And then he was one of the first people where I was just like, oh, this is more than just you're my boss. This also feels like family. It definitely does, where you do look out and you do care for us. But all that I felt came through me being a better employee, and maybe me wearing a Comedy Store T-shirt on Comedy Central for 4 days in a row. But a lot of it was because I was a cool dude. And but Eric's a funny sense of humor too. People would be like, I don't like Eric's boss sense of humor. I'm like, yo, as a boss, his sense of humor is so funny. It's very dry, very I don't know if I am getting fired. I don't know if I'm not. And I'm like, that's where the beauty comes in. That's the best part.
Makes you think.
Yeah. I can't imagine what it was like for him when he first got there.
Oh, absolutely.
I know he interviewed with Paulie to get the job, and I know they had the people that they had the evaluators that had come in to
the consultants, as they were called.
Yeah.
They were literally they didn't have any names. They were just called the consultants.
Yeah.
I was just like, I remember they'd walk.
Then he was on his own at that point.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Then he was left to straighten out a club where the inmates had taken over.
Oh, 100%. He was the new warden.
And so, he was never going to be the nice guy in that situation.
No.
But he did it in a way that didn't completely disrupt what the Comedy Store was and is.
No.
And now that it runs the way it does, and that, as time has gone by, I think people who maybe didn't early now see what he put in place and the importance of him in the transformation of the Comedy Store.
Absolutely.
That I think hopefully that's finally being
absolutely
fully understood by everybody around the store.
I mean, he hired me, so it was the smartest decision he ever made.
And, it was the second smartest. He hired me too.
I remember Moses put it in a good place. Brian Moses said it really well. The reason he liked me and Jay was when we were kind of the older door guys. And a lot of these, there's now the newer door guys. But when we came in, we had to volunteer through roast battle and work that way. So it was like we were already he made us do kind of door guy shit already through roast battle, like moving the tables, setting up everything, doing the tickets, running the door. So he made us work for that. And then I think that's why once we got the job, we appreciated it a little bit more. And, we were just like, when I wore the shirt, I was so fucking stoked to wear the shirt. I loved it. I was so proud every time, taking out the trash, fucking water getting in me everywhere and shit. You know what I mean? Like, just gross. I still take pride in it. I love it. And I don't know why. Like, I just loved being a door guy, and I liked the process of it. And I think Eric definitely made that better, and so did Adam. I think the getting the development spots, getting those cold opening spots, they really tried to make time for employees at the store. I feel like getting those, especially Emily, that she fought for us to get those development spots on like some of those bringer shows, because those guys were not interested in fucking putting us on stage. They were not interested in making their shows better.
Yeah, which that's always confused me. I've never understood the pushback from promoters on putting on our development comics, because I've seen all those shows, and in general, our development comics are better than any of the comics that they're bringing in.
You heard it first, folks. You heard it first.
Yeah, so I always I never understood the pushback on that.
It was very interesting. And I feel like as an actor, you also know there's like things in the acting world that were more skewed towards making money off of younger actors. Like what are a lot of those pay to play classes, stuff like that. With you have to pay to take the class from this teacher, and they'll put you in good with this casting director and all that jazz, which ended up being illegal, if I'm correct, right? They ruled against it, and then it's like you see that a little bit in the Comedy Store through those bringer shows. Not the Comedy Store does that, but with certain people that run bringer shows and stuff like that. That is a part of the comedy scene.
Are they assuming, or are they selling that that the comics that they're bringing on for their shows are going to have the opportunity to get in front of Comedy Store people that might make them Comedy Store comics? Is that what some of those people believe?
I feel like,
probably.
Right? I mean, but it's also like it. By the way, I never even thought about that either. But it is also, that is it's a good point. I don't think it's ever stated or anything, but it definitely is one of those things of like, it's definitely not stated, I
mean, yeah, and it probably doesn't have to be. It's the same thing with the open micers on the Monday night first hour when I've had friends who said, hey, can you get me stage time? And I'm like, listen, it's great for an opportunity for people to get on the Comedy Store stage, but that first hour for the open micers, that's really all it is. Except right at the end. Sometimes Adam will pop in, and you'll, but
well, someone's always watching.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that I try to.
That's true. Because and that's the other when. So when people would come to, when comics would come to me and they'd say, "Hey, I want to be a door guy," and that happened all the time.
Oh,
hey,
how
do I get to be a door guy? How do I get to be a door guy? And my answer was, because they always thought, I got to go to Adam. Let me find Adam and go to. That's the last thing you do. You never do that. Go to the door guys. That's how you become a door guy. And first of all,
don't tell them that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what I tell them is, first of all, go be a comic.
Yeah.
Be a comic. Go get on every stage you can get on in this town, and find stages where other door guys that work at the Comedy Store go on stage. and get to know them. And then if they see you and they like you and you guys are hanging out, and then you keep doing your comedy and you get better, and then you start hanging out at the store more, I said, then you become somebody that's in their eyesight and you express your interest of, wow, I'd really like to do that. Then maybe you have an opportunity for them to bring it up and to get you noticed by Adam or whoever else, and that's your opportunity to get a job as a door guy. But it really involves a whole shitload of working as a comic before you even get to that point.
Absolutely.
And when they come in, and when we do hire door guys, I always tell them, listen, you don't have to be a door guy at the Comedy Store to be a Comedy Store comic. Like you can just be a great comic, and Adam can see it and pass you, and now you're a Comedy Store comic, or put you in the development program, and you go through the process. You don't have to seat people at the store. And so it's a specific thing where when new people come in, I always try to make sure that they understood that it's okay for them to say no to this.
Yeah.
It doesn't hurt their comedy career. And even though, yes, being a door guy here might help it, you know, it maybe it does, maybe it doesn't.
Yeah.
You've got to understand this is a job. It's a minimum wage job. You're going to be seating people. It's going to suck. People are going to be shitty to you. You have to clean up puke in the bathroom. You're going to, you know, I mean, all that kind of stuff. So those were the conversations that I would have with door guys.
Absolutely. But even then, you know, you look at everyone's path at the store is different. Even when you are a door guy, you might just click with one of the headliners and shit just might change. You know, Hassan and Derek both are just solid openers for Brendan now. And, you know, stuff like that isn't bad. That's the whole point of the store, you know? Yeah, Brendan Shop. And the same thing, that's how, you know, Allie, me, Joe, Tony, you know, all those guys that open up for it. All that's from the store. But all that is... Same thing with how you get into the store. That's kind of the same way you got gigs from all these other guys, is they saw you get validated from the store, then they also see you in the rooms, and just because they see you in the rooms doing well doesn't mean they're always going to take you on the road. But when it's more of a chance for them to catch you, because you never know who's going to be in the room. Then they see you and they're like, "Oh shit, hey, what's up?" You know, and then their opinion changes of you, and all that is just being a good comic. Yeah, I'm fucking so stoned. We just fucking kept talking. This is great. We didn't even go to the comedy into the stories yet. So usually we record for about an hour, and then I show you funny videos and we talk about weed stuff. But this was fucking dope.
Oh, yeah.
How about you? You super stoned?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
dope.
Having a great time.
Perfect. How long have you been an actor?
I was, before I moved to L.A. in Austin, I was an attorney for 5 years.
Wait, really?
Oh, yeah.
What kind of attorney?
You didn't know that?
No.
Oh, I thought you knew that. I thought you knew that. No, I worked for a place called the Texas Civil Rights Project. I did criminal defense before that for about a year and a half.
Oh, that makes so much sense why you're such a dope dude who's very, like, understanding and progressive. You know what I mean? It makes sense. Mm-hmm. You're like, yeah, I've worked in it. I'm an attorney. I'm not just a person saying shit. You're like, oh, yeah, that makes sense.
So I when I was there doing that, I took an acting class. I mean, before that, I'd done a bunch of kind of weird. I mean, I was a DJ for a while and did a bunch of other shit.
What was your DJ name?
Joe DJ. I got T-shirts, frisbees, beer koozies. I'll get you one.
Do you really still have a koozie?
Yeah. I should have worn my shirt.
I swear to God, I would. Yeah, absolutely, I want one.
Gotta add it for sure.
Yeah, no, Ocean City, Maryland. Joe DJ for about 5-6 years.
Hell yeah.
So I had always kind of said when I was a kid, I acted, and I told myself at some point if I ever settle where I've got like a normal 9-to-5 kind of job, that I would go do theater somewhere. And so when I started working in Austin as an attorney, I realized I was at that point, and I took an acting class. And a year and a half later, I quit my job, sold all my shit, moved to LA.
Yeah, boy. So, and then you have a movie that you did?
For Jennifer. Go see For Jennifer.
I did not get a audition for that, but it's all right. No problem. I'm just messing with you.
Simpson's in it. Brian Simpson's in it.
Listen, I get it.
Jill Gallagher's in it.
Jill Gallagher's in it.
Who else from the store? Rob. Bartender Rob
is
in it.
Bartender Rob?
Bartender Rob is in it. Trying to think of any other comedy store people. Don Barris. Don Barris, Mary Jane.
Oh man, I love Don Barris.
They're we have a whole audition sequence that I brought him in for, and I was like, just do what the two of you do, like do the Don Barris. And so Don comes, Don's her manager, and she's in there to audition, and he's trying to tell her how to do it, and she's kind of ignoring him, and they're fucking brilliant in it. So
great.
So For Jennifer, it's on Amazon Prime and iTunes. It's a horror. It's found footage style. It's part of a series of films, starting with To Jennifer, and then the number 2 Jennifer, and then a movie called From Jennifer. And this is the 4th in the series, of course, called FOR For Jennifer. So, yeah.
I love it.
Hell yeah.
When did you start smoking weed? Have you always smoked weed?
I started smoking weed when I was in my early 20s. 23,
oh, okay.
Probably. I had a girlfriend who ended up being my wife, my technical wife. She was English, and we had to get married in order to keep dating. And she,
You had to get married to keep dating?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
She had to leave.
No, I get it, but it's just it's such a funny phrase of words. We had to get married to keep dating.
Yeah, it's government fucked up shit. So. So her and I used to smoke weed, and then at one point she was like, "Why don't we just buy some weed?" I was like, "All right, we'll just buy some weed," and then I bought weed for the rest of my life.
Nice.
Oh, yeah.
Listen, women, just the devil's work. Getting you into that weed. There's something about a girl that gets you into weed that you're like, what is this?
The changes of weed are amazing. Like this table in front of me here with the different implements and varieties of ways to smoke it. And I don't know if you have wax up here.
I do. Have you done a dab yet? Do you want to do one?
All sorts of shit. Like for the first 15 years of weed smoking, it's a saran wrap baggie and some papers, and I don't know what the words indica or sativa mean. So the changes in weed over my lifetime has been
insane.
Yeah.
We would always smoke weed in the back all the time. That was like my spot. You would come and pop in every once in a while, which is so funny. And I remember you would tell me the day after where you're like, "Oh, god damn it." I just remember going in the back, smoking a little bit, then having to go to the office and then being like, "Oh, god damn it." I think that happened once or twice.
I think he said that one time, and he said like one of the higher ups had come in, and you were just like, "Fuck."
Peter Shore doesn't listen to your show.
No, no one listens to this. It
was this joint that's sitting right in front of me now.
Really?
Yeah, no, it was the big flowery joint. It was before it was the party. It was the Christmas party.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
So it was okay. It wasn't like I was at
That's much
work.
better.
But I'm the GM. It's the Christmas party. I'm still working. I work those parties, even though I get to hang out and drink and have fun. Anyway. We're out back in the back, and you lit up one of these big flowery joints, and I think I'd heard you talk about them before.
Yeah,
I heard other people talk about how fucked up it was getting them, and I thought, oh well, it's the beginning of the Christmas party. Okay,
it was like the beginning of the Christmas party,
and so I took a hit off it, and then I took it back. I took another hit off it. And I think within like 30 seconds in the conversation, I had my whole, I just went everything over me. I went, oh fuck, really stoned. And I turned around, and then I walk into the office, and I remember, and like literally, I walked into the office and kind of stood for a minute to pull myself together. Like, wow, that was a lot. And I turn around, and right at the entrance of the door, here comes Peter Shore walking in with his hand outstretched, ready to talk and have a conversation. And I was like, oh fuck, Jody, all right, pull it together. Peter, how you doing? And then we talked for a little bit. So luckily, it was all good, I think.
Oh my god!
As you know, we had 8 more in the back.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, it was fucking wild. I remember being back there and just being back there with the joint and then having people walk back there, and we got to see a lot of cool, famous people at the store. Was there anyone that you saw that you were like, "What the fuck"? Because I remember we would like trip out. Like I remember what was his name? He directed The Departed. Scorsese came.
Yeah, that's a great story.
Did you? Yeah, were you there for that night?
Yeah. So he comes up. So there's the line outside the main room, which is 300 people long, 400 people long, and so a car pulls up, and I think at first it was security, and they go, "Hey, can we come in? Can we get around the line?" They go, yeah. Just the line's out there. Go start the line. And then they go and they park, and they come up and they walk up, and Eric is out there, and the guys walk in. It's 3 of them, and they walk up to Eric and they go, "Hey, we got tickets to come to the show. Is it okay if we kind of move around the line?" And Eric goes, "No, the line starts back there. Go. That's where the line is." And then turns around and starts talking to the security guard again. And I think it was security. It might have been Amir. I don't remember who it was. Or Asani, and And he goes, I think that's Martin Scorsese. And Eric turns around and bolts towards the three as they're walking. They are walking to the end of the line. Like Scorsese's ready to wait in the 400-person line and have to deal with that.
Dude.
And Eric bolts for him and gets him and turns him around. And goes, no, come on, I got you, I'll get you.
Yeah, bro, it was, dude, and so right before that, I think it was Alex Hanna. It was one of the newer door guys, and it was like, I think we just had like a meeting about like, being like, no one can cut lines, all the shit like that. And I think like Martin Scorsese walks up to one of the door guys in the main room and tries to like palm him 100 or some shit. And then like, I guess one of the new door guys like kind of like, I don't know if it was Alex Hanna, it's just as perfectly awkward as he is. He just kind of, I don't know if he like tried to, I don't think he accepted it or it fell or whatever, but he kind of just looked at it and it just like was sitting there and like he was like, no, you have to go to the back of the line. Like he wouldn't take it. And like still like told Scorsese no.
Scorsese's doing everything he can.
Scorsese's doing everything he can to get in and no one is letting him. And then they finally let him get in. And Scorsese ended up fucking taking care of everybody. He was just nice. I know all the servers got taken care of. Like I remember he like just gave like $100 to the door girl. Like he was just a nice guy taking care of everybody. But it was so funny how fucking just like nope. It was great. Shit like that would happen all the time. I think one of the door guys, I think it was like Garza, like who kicked out Kevin Hart or someone kicked out like it was just like this might have been before Kevin Hart was before Kevin Hart. Yeah, he was doing like the belly room, and I think someone kicked him out because they wouldn't let him park in the lot. And then someone else, I know Fang Chow fucking tried to card, what's her name? No, it tried to card fucking, oh my God, the black singer, soul, Aretha Franklin. Yeah, someone, I think it was like Garza fucking turned.
When do you think the last time Aretha Franklin was carded going into a place?
Dude, it is, yeah, 100%. Dude, it was, I hear stories like that all the fucking time, dude. It's so fucking funny. Because some people just don't know who, some people are like just different the different kinds of people you have at the store, they don't, pay attention to everything.
And it's funny, the only times, mostly the only times that people would give shit to the door staff and tell me if this is your opinion on it too, was the mid-level people. Like the big names often didn't. Like if you didn't know who they were, or you didn't, it would be somebody who is not quite that big but kind of big, who really maybe you shouldn't know who they were.
Yeah,
and
like
they would give you shit about it.
Yeah. But yeah, sometimes they give you shit like, oh, you don't know who I am. And then I was just like, bro, come, it's a fucking minimum wage job. I don't give a fuck. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, you're from Chicago or wherever the fuck. My bad, dude. Like, I get it. Yeah. I don't know everyone that has a Comedy Central special out right now. You know what I mean? I'm kind of worried about my own shit. Yeah.
I'm an influencer. I have 1 million followers.
Oh, dude. I remember some guy was like, hey, can I sit in that VIP section? I was like, it was for roast battle. I was like, no. And he was like, well, I'm kind of, and I was like, no, I'm like important. I was kind like, of a big deal. Yeah, I'm like, nah, bro, it's for like other people. And then like he had to go like sit back down, and someone came up to me and was like, dude, he's got like 1,000,003 followers on like Instagram. And I was like, I don't care.
This hot chick.
I get paid $13 an hour. This is all I have. Yeah, it was just, I was like, I don't give a shit. And then it was just, it's fucking hysterical. I remember I saw, it was a Chappelle night. I know I got to see, what was his name? Ant-Man was there. Paul Rudd, nicest guy in the world.
Cool
Erykah Badu was cool. She was there. Cool, just a big-ass hat. You know what I mean? I was just like, who is this magician? And then I was like, oh, shit. Oh, you remember when David Blaine showed up?
Yeah, I wasn't there.
You wasn't there? I wasn't there for that either. Oh, no, I was. I was in the back, and then I fucking showed up after he left. Yeah. Have you heard this story?
No.
This motherfucker pulls up on a bike, right? And he pulls up. This is now that I remember who it involves, it's actually a hilarious story to tell. He pulls up on a bike, right? And he's got this like chick on the back, and she just stays on the bike. And I remember she was just like bored. Fahim was there. It was Fahim, Dalia, and a few other comics. And Fahim has this in his act. And it was like Blaine like walked up to the door guy, and I think it was like Matt Lockwood maybe, and he was like, hey, can I come in? And he was like, oh, I gotta see your ID. And he was like, I'm David Blaine. And he was like, what? And he shows him his ID, and he goes, holy shit, you are David Blaine. And then he was like, yeah, is that D'Elia? And he goes, yeah. And he's like, can I talk to him? And he's like, sure. And then he walks over and he's like, hey, I want to show you a trick. So he does a trick, and Eric Anderson's there and like a few other comics, and they do the trick, and it blows everybody's mind away. And then he gets back on the motorcycle, and then he just drives away. And that is like just, I guess, what he does is he just drives places, hops off the motorcycle, does magic tricks, and then just dips. He was literally there for 4 minutes, I think. He did like 2 tricks.
Do you think he drove by, saw D'Elia on the patio, and then was like I want to specifically, I want to go do this trick?
No, I think that's just his thing. He just drives.
He was just pulling in wherever and saw him and was like, hey, can I talk to D'Elia?
Yeah, he knew he was just a big dude. Yeah. And I was like, damn. Yeah. That place wild.
I was there for the second Seinfeld appearance, but I missed the first one, and I would have loved to have been there for the first one.
I was there for the first one.
Because that's when he goes on stage and he tells a story.
He told the Mitzi story. It was insane. It was like it was less a stand-up set and more just like a triumphant fucking fuck you.
Yeah,
it was a respectful fuck you.
Yeah, but he was like, the Laugh Factory gave him spots or something like that.
No, he was just explaining about how he came in and Mitzi was like, no. And then it really fucking affected him, and he worked hard, and he ended up making like the best show, and he bought a house.
Tim Allen.
Yeah,
that's who it was.
Yeah, he bought a house above hers, so she would have to see him pass by every day. So he bought a house above hers on purpose. Yeah, and then he was like, I'm glad, blah blah blah. It made me a better comic, all the jazz, and it was funny. I think it ended up coming out that it was one of her biggest regrets. Yeah. It was one of her biggest regrets not letting him perform there. But also, like, same thing with Louis. Louis was there, I think, for 3 minutes, and she pulled him off, and he ended up having to write a TV show and do a bunch of horrible shit to get back on stage. Yeah. But, yeah, it was crazy. Yeah. That place is fucking... I mean, that place... Mitzi really fucking created a spot, bro. Oh, man, watching Argus Hamilton go up every fucking night. That shit is
that's fun.
So fucking funny.
This is really hurting him. This quarantine.
He calls me every Monday, asks me if there's spots.
Yeah.
He's texting me, do I have any spots, Frank? All right, so we'll get ready to close this out. Have you taken a dab yet? Do you want to? Is that too much for you?
Yeah, I can, sure.
Fucking awesome.
I've gone this far with all these different implements.
Oh, yeah. So I've really been into TikTok.
It smells like mango candy to me.
Are you a TikToker?
I'm familiar with TikTok, but no, I haven't made any TikToking. I haven't done any TikToking.
Yeah, I'm not one of those. This is like my new funniest home videos, dude.
My dad hit me up and was like, "Yeah, next time you're in town, we should make a TikTok." And I was like, Dad, I'm too old for TikTok, and so are you.
No.
What the fuck are you doing?
We're too old for TikTok. Old people, perfect for TikTok.
I don't know,
it is, dude. It is.
My dad's like 43.
Dude, these are like 30 seconds.
So is there a 30-second limit on all the videos?
No, you could do like what? I think it's like I think it's like.
I don't know fucking TikTok.
That's so funny. I think the videos can be longer.
Okay,
but
there isn't a limit?
I don't think there is. No, I think it's like a 6-minute limit.
Can I put my movie on TikTok?
I mean, you could.
For Jennifer, available on TikTok. What did she trip over?
Her heel. It was her fucking heel. Yeah, sometimes the fucking heel just gets you, bro. Man, dude, people falling over are like my favorite, dude.
Good unexpected
I mean, I remember the first time I ever watched Hannah fucking fall over like bad. It was like we were going to my apartment. She had groceries in her hand. She like tripped, and I was like, "Oh!"
Buzz when it's ready.
Bro, it was fucking funny.
Like
I mean, I felt bad. I really felt bad, but it was also.
You'll feel like vibrate, and then you can. Yeah.
Sip it like a milkshake.
Yo, somebody shit on the fucking Walmart cart. What
the fuck?
These are the videos I'm into.
And that dude's name was Mustard.
Yeah, it was. How much? I mean, do you remember any fucking terrible shit stories from the store? I remember it was like Brian Simpson's first day and the fucking plumbing backed up, and I just remember sitting there watching him with the plunger, and he's just sweeping up shit water.
Yes,
dude, it was fucking hysterical. First day, bro. Oh. That is.
I love Simpson. I hated having to do that. I remember when that happened. There were a couple. I think same thing happened to Austin. I think Austin Train.
It was like,
we had like his first night, or one of his first couple nights. Something real. We had one night. Was this the Austin night? This is, I don't remember who it was. It was one of the new door guys, but in the back by the bar, right next to the kitchen, all the sewers started backing up, and they all started coming flooding out of the thing. And for like 2 hours, somebody had to stand there and keep it mopped up and keep it kind of clean. And it was sewage. I mean, it was just fucking gross. So yeah. And then my last 2 months there is when we hired maintenance guy. We had a maintenance guy that was there all day and all night.
Crazy.
And that took that away from you guys. We were able to get somebody else to clean up the puke.
Yeah. And it was kind of like, oh, okay, dope. Yeah, man. Listen, they had it fucking made. They really did. Let's just say it really got away from everybody. This homeless chick's chasing a friend of theirs.
What do I do? Jesus Christ.
She's fucking...
He's just running from her. Stop. See what she does if she catches up.
By the way, they just fucking left him. They didn't even try to fucking help him. They were just like, fuck this dude. Oh. I love this.
Ouch. Oh. Speed wobbles, bro.
Oh, speed wobbles. Did you ever skateboard or do anything back in the day?
Yeah, but not really.
Oh, okay.
Like I've been on one before, but just don't push me too fast.
Oh, I mean, this is,
Oh, this guy's getting hit in the balls. For
Yep.
Sure, right?
Oh, he choked me up.
You could just see it
Especially the way
coming.
he choked down on that.
Oh, that was right at the end of the stick, too.
Oh, yeah, he really, for a guy with a blind on his face, like, he really, like, he hit it better than if it was fucking, if he was unblindfolded. I saw this experiment. This is pretty cool.
How old are you, Frank?
I'm 31. I am 31 years old, and I
love elephant shit.
am a child. I thought you'd love this one. His dad's hitting the weed pen.
Is that that thin boy?
It's another planet.
Have you smoked with family or anything yet?
My sister and I smoked together. And I've smoked
okay.
with my older sister before. My parents have a story. The only time my parents have ever smoked weed, my aunt apparently used to smoke weed. I found this out as I became an adult. And then there was one night when they tried to get my mom and my dad to smoke weed, and they're not people who smoke weed. And my aunt told my mom, said, "It'll make you feel sexy." They're like, all right. So they smoke. And my dad said 10 minutes later, my mom's passed out. And my dad picks her up and he's carrying her up the stairs. He looks back. He's like, "So when does she start feeling sexy?"
Oh, have you seen this? So there's a family of an inbred family that's like
nuts.
That this has been like known and documented. So this guy went and found him, documented him like 10 years ago, and then he revisited recently. So and this is like a straight up inbred family that can vote.
I'm sorry, what's this? Ray. I remember Ray. I photographed you, Ray. Do you remember? Years ago. And your name is? Lorraine.
Oh, that doesn't help at all.
And Timmy. Now, you guys grew up here in Odd, West Virginia. How many years have you lived here?
Fucking crazy, right? The guy was barking. There's a longer video. I can look it up if you want.
Yeah, you got a whole documentary about that.
No, there was a little bit, but the guy was saying how their local, like everyone in that city protects them. So like if you go and you try to find them, they will fuck with you. They fuck you up,
so
like the neighbors, because they're just like, don't fuck with them.
Yeah,
it's a
they're
sweet
just-
family. Yeah.
So it's
not
just
their fault.
one specific family. It's
It's
not
just
like
one-
it's in
yeah.
a area where the culture is a lot of people are fucking each other's. It is a specific family that's doing it.
I mean, it is one specific family, but I mean, I wouldn't put it past the.
There might be a couple other families. Might be a couple.
Listen, it might be a neighborhood dog. Yeah, the cul-de-sacs are pretty small. But yeah. Oh, this is pure New York guy.
Let me tell you something. The key to a successful marriage is stay the fuck away from your wife.
I kind of want his fucking meatballs.
I think his wife's gonna stay away from his meatballs.
I want his fucking meatballs. This is what happens when me and my wife go get food.
Oh, did she fart?
Oh, yeah. That was a fucking fart. All right. Let's go ahead and do some last minute dabs, and then we'll go ahead and wrap this bitch up. Thank you so much for coming. I'm glad you had fun.
Yeah, dude, this was great. I haven't seen you in a few months.
I know it is.
Everybody at the store, so
me too, man. Me too. I definitely do miss it, man. It was a magical place. Had a lot of good fun times. Oh God, I just remember being so shit faced.
One smoking everyone out, man.
That was a lot of fun.
Like seeing them an hour and a half later, and they're fucked.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
My favorite story is when Red Van walks down the hallway and just looks me in the face and goes, "Fuck you,"
yeah.
and just kept walking. I was like,
yeah,
that's what I'm here for, baby.
Yep. Oh man, that place is. Ugh. Oh, ghost stories. Did you ever feel anything?
The short answer is no. I spent a fair amount of time. I have a video of my last night there where I just stayed afterwards. But I spent a fair amount of time after everybody left,
really,
just hanging out at the Comedy Store. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
At 3 a.m, 3:30 in the morning, go sit in a room, hang out, and I haven't seen a ghost. The energy at the store is thick, so for 20 hours a day. 19 hours a day, the place is filled with people, and it's been that way for 40-something years. And so when there's nobody there, you can still feel all those people, and you can still hear conversations, and you can hear, like, literally you can hear word, like you just feel it. You just feel this energy. I wish Simone, I don't know if you've heard the Simone. The Simone ghost story is my favorite. So that's my answer on the haunting of the Comedy Store.
You're so high.
Has any TV shows hit up the Comedy Store trying to do the ghost story shit there?
Yeah, and they've done one.
Oh yeah.
There's one from, it's in the late 90s, right?
Yeah, they have an Unsolved Mysteries one.
I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, it's pretty dope.
Serena and I've been binge watching fucking Ghost Adventures. Yeah. It's hilarious.
It's great.
I think Argus is in it, isn't he?
I mean,
probably.
If not, he will be. All right. Thank you so much, Jody. Thank you, JP.
Thanks, guys. This is great. Thank you, man.